and welcome to a cover story conversation. Well, this week we're going to be focusing on the opposition, but specifically the Congress party. The Congress has had a very stormy parliament session where they've raised issues. In fact, Rahul has really led the narrative. But the question now that comes is he raising the right issues? Is he focusing on issues that are actually on ground? Are his allies also with him on board on these issues? And also what is happening within the Congress. In fact, Mani Shankar Ayyar very interestingly has made, apart from his other comments, he said that he's not part of the current Rahulian Congress. So what is this Rahulian Congress? What does it stand for? That is something I'm going to be discussing today. I have with me on the panel Rashid Kidwai. He's a political columnist, author, and someone who knows pretty well what is happening within the Congress and government. And Neerja Chaudhary, also author, political columnist, political editor, and again, someone who knows the inside track of how governments work, how the opposition works. So, Rashid, I'll start with you. If you can tell us, generally in terms of this Rahulian Congress, what do you understand by that?
Yeah. So I think, Priya, first we must look at the aggression part of Rahulian Congress. It is very aggressive. It is, you look at the kind of the protest that is doing inside Parliament, outside Parliament, and this is a typical opposition track. Neerja Chaudhary ji has covered politics longer than both of us, and she can tell us. You see what was happening, what was Bharatiya Janata Sangh all about, what was VP Singh opposition to the Congress, that Rajiv Gandhi government, and etc. And subsequently all the BJP opposing Narasimha Rao. So aggression is very much part and parcel. The Congress was not aggressive, and a very glaring example came in that AI summit when the Youth Congress workers went. And the
I know.
only differential thing is, I think, when the opposition of the past of 80s and 90s were protesting against the government or opposing government of the day, they had segments of media with them. The media was a sort of natural ally of the opposition. Today the situation is reversed, so there is a lot of criticism of scrutiny comes of the Congress and Rahul Gandhi in particular, and he is himself to be blamed for his whole media team and media relations. But that's very bad optics. Every time there is a protest is does not have Priya, boundaries. Look at that AI summit protest. Look at the World Economic Forum that was taking place. Nobody said it's such an important event taking place. There were so many protests were there in Switzerland. So protest is very much part and parcel. To say that going doing this or doing that is unfair, untrue. I mean, it is all actually a curated narrative, and that is where I think the opposition is lagging. But coming back to your specific question about Rahulian thing, every leader, and I see a grain of truth in what Mani Shankar Ayyar is saying, every leader has its own kind of political thinking or a political legacy. The Congress of today is not a Nehruvian Congress. It is not a Narasimha Raoian Congress, or it is not a Sonia Gandhi's Congress. It is of course very unique, and that is where I think the Congress is and Rahul Gandhi has a very kind of heavy dose of civil society narrative in the Congress. And therefore, it is the civil society kind of narrative that Rahul Gandhi is pursuing. It is not the Congress ideology that we see it on the forefront, and that is where, Priya, we can go and discuss a lot about Jai Jagat Group. And the Jai Jagat Group is very strong in the Congress. You will see it in Rajya Sabha polls also, the outcome of it, in terms of choices of people the Congress would
For the
field. So
viewers, let's explain what the Jai Jagat group is. That is a
So Jai
close
Jagat,
group.
they just sign. I mean, within the Congress, there are, I would say, Rahul Gandhi's, friends and associates, many of them led by Sachin Rao, and they actually, in their WhatsApp messages and all, they sign off as the Jai Jagat. Jai Jagat
Okay.
actually, theoretically speaking, stands for, kind of some world peace, the whole, that kind of very utopian kind of thought process is there. But within the Congress, they have formed a group, a ginger group. The Congress has a rich history of having such ginger groups. Socialist Congress Forum and several forums were there even in Nehru's time. Now this group is very powerful, and they actually are very close. They are palace guards. They are holding very key posts and positions. So the Jai, as I said, we require a separate session on Jai Jagat group. But so what I'm saying is, so Mr. Manishankar Ayyar is very upset about all this because the Congress is not sticking to Nehruvian ideology.
Fair enough. Nija, your take on this Rahulian Congress. What does the Congress today under Rahul really stand for? And the coterie that is running the Congress, the Jai Jagat group that Rashid very aptly has called them.
Manishankar Iyer saying, I'm a Gandhian, I'm a Nehruvian, I'm a Rajivian, but I'm not a Rahulian. Now, that is inevitable, because the party is being taken over by or given leadership by Rahul Gandhi. And I would also say, there's a lot of unhappiness being expressed about what Manishankar Iyer has said, which is perceived to be attacking his party, favoring the left front in Kerala, saying that he'd be surprised if the UDF, he'd like it to win, but he'd be surprised if it wins in Kerala. So coming at moments like this just before the elections, yes. But I would also say this, that our democracy would be poor without a Manishankar Iyer. Somebody
That's
who
true.
lets fly, somebody who will erupt, who's very articulate, who gali galoj bhi karenge. He's taken on Pawan Khera, who has said he's not in the Congress. He will kick his backside. I mean, that kind of language, of course, is very much in sync with the language you see on social media today. The irreverent. This is not a language of the era to which Manishankar Iyer belongs. Manishankar Iyer has also been at his indiscreet best. He's known for indiscretion, even at
Correct.
the best of times, even when he was, within the party acting as a spokesperson. He's been known to be volatile, maverick, but as I say, our democracy would be poor without somebody like that. In all parties, you need people like that sometimes. Now, I remember personally when Rajiv Gandhi died, and the body was taken, the Nehru Memorial, Teen Murti. And I remember on that parapet, Manishankar Iyer sitting like this. He was alone. He was not part of the things going on inside. He was in a corner. He was grieving for his friend. And he spent 6 years, as he said, working very closely with Rajiv. He traveled everywhere, and Rajiv used to go to these villages, the poor people in their hearts, getting to know India and what the problems were like. And then, of course, giving shape to the Panchayati Raj legislation, which has taken our democracy in a very faulty way. You can say our democracy has the fault lines, many things need to be set right, but certainly the devolution of democracy as conceived by Rajiv Gandhi. It was one of his dream projects. And it was given effect too by Narasimha Rao, because in Rajiv's time, it could not be passed, those legislations. So yes, he calls himself, he believes in the Gandhian values, he's very much a Nehruvian. I cannot imagine Manishankar Iyer joining the BJP or joining any other party, even if the Congress does not give him his due. And of course, personal loyalty to Rajiv, but he is obviously uncomfortable in Rahul Gandhi's Congress. Now, transition, Priya, to a next generation has to take place. And you
Right.
cannot say that the younger generation, which is living in a very different age, AI Impacts Summit has just taken place, technology, new media, social media, irreverence of that media. The younger generation, Rahul's colleagues and his team that you refer to, are to be functioning differently. That is something you have to put up with. You have to lump it. You may like it or not. But what I do say, kya jata hai if Rahul Gandhi and others can call a Manishankar Iyer over a cup of tea for 15 minutes? What ideas do you have? Where are we headed? Or to take him, suppose he's going to Kerala or he's going to Tamil Nadu or he's going to Karnataka or somewhere else for some meeting that he has to address. Take him with him, let him also speak. And this would apply to all of the older generation people, 70s, in the 70s and 80s, who's given a lot to the party and who still are all there, have ideas, have energy. So why should their services not be used? You may not use them as your race horses, but you can consult them. I mean, you don't also have to make them a Margdarshak Mandali and not consult them. बट कभी कभी चाय पे बुलाया, कभी कभी बात कर ली, उनको इज्जत दी. एवरीथिंग hinges around giving them their due for what they have done in the past and may do in the future also. After all, remember Jayaprakash Narayan,
Hmm.
old, frail, aging, sick man in 1977, January.
Look.
And I remember in this Shivaji Park in Bombay, 1 लाख लोग वहां थे, भरा हुआ था. It was pin drop silence. JP could not even get up and speak. He had to sit there on a chair, and the lights coming. I'll never forget that, this very old man, and we have to defeat the Tanashah, the dictator Indira Gandhi, and the people of India voted to defeat her. And the government changed, history of India changed. So older people also may play a very decisive role at different moments. You don't know, you can't rule it out. But the short point is, kya jata hai to give somebody who's been integral part of your system their due?
That, I think, Rashid, is the crux of the problem. This is just a cry for attention, not just Mani Shankar here. We saw even the Ghulam Nabi Azad. We saw so many older Congress leaders who have left because they have just been ignored. One cup of tea, some kind of, acknowledgement is, I guess, is what they're asking at this age.
Yeah, I think Priya Nirja ji has made a very fair point. But the problem with Gandhis are that they lack a kind of manager, as we keep saying, in the mold of Ahmed Patel, who can actually do all these things. So
Hmm.
Gandhi's sort of, or their camp feels that if we go on doing like this attention-seeking behavior, there is no end to it. And what if, you see, there is a flip side of it, that Bhupen Bora, who revolted and who left the Congress, was given
Yes.
an audience. And for 15 minutes, Rahul Gandhi spoke to him on phone, and it became a very Rahul Gandhi got a very sorry figure, because in spite of talking to him on phone, he invited, or for that matter, Hemanta Biswa Sarma, Chief Minister of Assam, went to Bora's house, and Bora
Hmm.
said all those things which Hemanta wanted him to say. So therefore, there are a lot of designs and games. So Gandhis are not even sure of who's doing what, and therefore that gives them a little problem. I agree with Nijaji 100%, and with you also, Priya, that there is a need for a mechanism, but then that some senior leader has to be given this kind of task or the mandate to actually make an assessment of the situation, case to case basis, and bring it to that thing. Even with Mani Shankar Iyer, I have a personal, private, and I would say privileged knowledge. It is very personal.
Hmm.
Mani had gone and campaigned for Priyanka and Vanyard, and Priyanka Gandhi had called up and thanked him for his campaign and all, and Mani had invited her to for the his book launch, and no member of Nehru Gandhi family turned up for that book launch. And
Right.
therefore, Mani was, hurt, and he's not getting audience, not for, in 2026, the same case was there 25, 24. I mean, from 2024 onwards, I don't know how many times he has had the occasion to visit attention park. So as he fancies, Neeraj ji was saying he was very close to Rajiv Gandhi. So he always says Rajiv Gandhi के time पे मैं अर्श पे था और अब मैं फर्श
Hmm.
पे आ गया. So that kind of thing is not able. He's 84. So he is not able to comprehend. So it's a complicated situation. We can there are sort of stories and reasons from both sides. But in terms of purely in terms of optics, Priya, Rahul Gandhi and Nehru Gandhi family doesn't come out clean, and that should worry them.
So basically, Nita, what Rashid has said about Mani Shankar Iyer also, applies to a whole old guard. And as you have pointed out, but Rahul's point of view, on the other hand, is that now is the time for, my team to take over. All these years, even when Sonia Gandhi was, in charge, I was sidelined, and I think he blames Ahmed Patel a lot. So there is some scar that he is fighting about, Ahmed Patel and the old guard had edged him out. So he's now feeling that now is my time with my people. He doesn't trust very many of the old congressmen also, which is why he's got his whole team at Akbar Road, at his office in Tughlaq Road with him, who are actually working. So there's a parallel setup also going there. They decide what issues are to be raised. They brief him. There is a lack of trust also, isn't there?
No, that's true. And I think he has a point when he says, I want my team. I want to work with the people I trust, who I think are capable, who I think will deliver. Any leader has the right to do that. But it's a grand old party of India. You cannot suddenly say, I'm going to cut the baggage, what he thinks is baggage, and let it
Hmm.
go. the things don't work out like that. And any leader has to take young and old together alike. You cannot say it'll only be young or it'll only be old. Particularly
Right.
an old party like the Congress Party, which has had so many shades. And, they may not have energy, some of them, and, Manishankar Iyer seems to be very fit. Others may not have energy, but as I say, you can consult. Now, Rahul Gandhi called Shashi Tharoor after all the things that went on toing and froing between them, and all that Shashi Tharoor was saying, and Rahul and the party disagreed with him. He called him, and Kharge ji was there, and he was there, and they talked about Kerala, and Shashi Tharoor is part of a committee.
Yeah,
They
that's
brought
a good
about
example.
a very simple cup of tea and reaching out. So I think any leader who has to take all manner of people with him or her has to, you may dislike the person, but they have to swallow that bitter pill if you want to be the leader.
Fair enough. I think that is a good point. I'm going to take a break and come back and stay with the topic. So stay with us. Hello and welcome back to a cover story conversation. We are, of course, talking about the Congress party and the issues raised by Manishankar recently, which also shows that he is still extremely very relevant because there is a lot of uproar within the Congress. But just a little bit, a comment on his comments on Pawan Khera. Why has Pawan Khera always become the whipping boy? He's just the messenger. Ghulam Nabi Azad attacked him. Manishankar Iyer has attacked him. Rashid.
Yeah, so I think it's a very convenient ploy to look for a sort of person who's
Why
come
not
from.
Jairam Ramesh? He seems to have more this thing closer to Rahul.
Absolutely. So I think, since Pawan being a party spokesperson and head of the media, he has to do that, talking and do plain talking, and whatever is being said about Manishankar Iyer also, he must have been briefed by Jairam Ramesh. And we know that, Priya, that there is a whole history that Jairam Ramesh and Manishankar Iyer from the time of Rajiv Gandhi, they don't get along. They've been within the Congress, but they've been on the opposite side of things, and therefore Mani had a more sense of hurt when he heard Pawan Khera saying this, and he attacked Pawan Khera. Pawan Khera's modest background, he's come from an NGO sector. He has worked very hard. He's worked with uh, 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 Girja Vyas ji. Later on, he worked with Sheila Dikshit, and then he has found his way, and he's very articulate, and he has done very well for the party. So therefore, I think the Congress has a kind of elitist approach in terms of either Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad or Manishankar Iyer. They look for a person. They know that Pawan Khera may not retaliate in a personal manner, personalized attack that they are doing. So they do it. So their target is someone else. Pawan Khera is a pretext. Jairam Ramesh is a target. Or the Nehru Gandhi family. Actually, so in that sense, one should have some element of sympathy for Pawan Khera, and he is being targeted because he's at one hand we say that in politics is open for all, and anybody who has merit and hard work should come up, and when some example comes, then we try to run that person down, and I think that is quite a tragic element of it. That is a real problem of being Pawan Khera.
That is true because Neerja, at the end of the day, there are other messengers also. Manishankar himself was a sort of, played the same role as being a spokesperson during Rajiv Gandhi's time of media manager. So now, is Pawan Khera the low-hanging fruit really?
Yeah, Pawan Khera is a soft target. There's no doubt. And he's the one who said Manishankar Iyer is not in the Congress party. He's the one who delivered that message. And I think, I to use the language, kick him in the backside. You don't do that in public life. And Manishankar, that is hitting below the belt and was uncalled for. And also to say that Pawan Khera was a parrot who was just repeating what Jairam Ramesh had told him. Jairam Ramesh is the head of the communications and media department, and a spokesman is supposed to articulate the line of the party as evolved by the media department and conveyed to the spokesperson. Now you can call it parrot or you can call it whatever you want. You cannot have an independent line, a line independent of the party line. Of course, where you can be, imaginative, innovative is how you put it across. So it's not dull, but it catches the eyeballs and so on. Of course, Mani is very good at that, as he's very articulate.
He is
But
extremely.
I also felt it was really on its part, Mani Shankar's part, it was uncalled for those personal comments about Pawan Khera.
Which is true, and that way Pawan Khela has, as Rashid has also pointed out, not replied, not engaged. He has not. He's doing a daily briefing. Every time he's asked that question, he says, "I've said what I had to say, and that is it." So that, I think, is showing maturity on his part. But Rashid, the issues that the Congress is raising, Rahul Gandhi, in a way, did drive the narrative of the parliament, which is very good in terms of an opposition leader. But what the Congress leaders are worried about is कि ये parliament में ही होता है, but on ground, A, these issues perhaps may not resonate, some of them. B, somehow the traction does not happen.
Yeah, I think Priya, whatever we see about Rahul Gandhi, there are two sides of it, and we must very carefully examine it. One is that, as Jeeta ji was also saying, there are people who are sidelined, people who are not part of team Rahul Gandhi, people who are disgruntled, people who are parliamentarians, people who have a lot of experience, people who have been in ministers in UPA. So therefore, this is a kind of disgruntled ke, matlab, hi Hussain, hum na hue. They would want to be seen and doing the talking because they've been ministers, they've held senior positions, etc. And this is the kind of, so this is the internal Congress dynamics. I think it has nothing to do with the merit of what Rahul Gandhi is doing or not doing, but their pound of flesh which they think that they deserve and they're not getting. Second thing is about what Rahul Gandhi is saying, the kind of the renewed aggression, the kind of courage of conviction that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is displaying on many issues. People would not be talking about it. ये ठीक नहीं है, we should not be talking about Prime Minister, we should not be talking about Hardeep Puri, all those things. So Rahul Gandhi is holding the no holds bar, that kind of attack, which is actually a leaf from what the opposition used to do, as I said, during Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi's time, that Neerja ji has very well documented in her book also. So Rahul Gandhi is actually a very unconventional politician, and the government of the day doesn't know how to deal with him. They have no sort of cordial relations. They cannot kind of lure him. They cannot send him to various trips abroad, etc. So in that sense, Rahul Gandhi brings a lot of fresh air in terms of the opposition, and opposition also, when non-Congress opposition is also unhappy because they think that Rahul Gandhi is hogging all the limelight. And then comes that role of media, which is always which is not a domain of this thing. That whatever Rahul Gandhi does, it makes it appears to be bad because of that kind of amplification by what we call it as a section of media which is pro-government, which was not a case in the 70s, 80s, 90s and all. Opposition and media had chori daman ka saath. So this is rather than, so we are not able to make a judicious call on what Rahul Gandhi is doing.
And Navneeta, your take on the issues Rahul Gandhi is raising, and it is not having traction because A, the role of the media, even his own allies are not amplifying it, or is it that the Congress is not able to take the message forward?
I think, I ask people when I travel, Priya, I ask them this question only to be able to understand why Rahul Gandhi is not clicking at that level, despite raising issues very courageously, which other people are not raising.
Right.
And what people say is, like I was talking to somebody from UP yesterday, he's a very nice person, very decent, sincere person, लेकिन कहीं वो message आ नहीं रहा है. As a political message, as a counter, as an alternative to the Prime Minister. And I think that's something the Congress needs to really go into. Because for all the effort, if that is not happening in the messaging, is it a narrative, is it a vision, is it a message, is it a method of articulation, the language being used, kya hai ye? Secondly, of course, why they're not getting, why they're not winning elections, which is very important, no matter how many yatras Rahul does. And nobody's done this 4,000 kilometer yatra that he did. And I must say, when I travel to it, I did not meet one single person, not one single person, Priya, who said कि अच्छा नहीं कर रहे. They were very happy. He was coming to them, walking, coming to listen to them. So given that goodwill, why is it not being translated into votes? And I think we come down to one word. The answer to that is the organization. And unless the party not only builds his persona, his personality, his leadership, unless the party concentrates on building the organization painstakingly from the ground.
Yeah.
It won't happen. So I think the party has to address it. And I mean, the party is full of very talented people. One feels that when we are having a discussion like this, that they don't know, they know.
Yeah.
So, they're not able to do it is the more relevant question.
I think one answer to that perhaps could be, I know we're out of time, but a quick take is, it's if he takes the old guard along with them, because, if you want to fix the plumbing, these are the guys who laid the pipes. They can perhaps, be of use in something like this, perhaps, Rashid.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, Priya, just to add what you're saying, and that is where I find it very intriguing, the role of Sonia Gandhi. Sonia Gandhi is active,
Yes.
politically sharp, and but she has taken as if a conscious decision to take a, back seat, and she doesn't want to intervene, she doesn't want to get into picture, whether it was Shashi Tharoor or Manishankar Ayyar, or I would say Ghulam Nabi Azad, all these were like easy beat. She could have very easily managed them. And therefore, if she sort of, talks to them, invite them for a cup of tea at Tenjan Park once in a while, I think that will do a lot of good. And Sonia Gandhi is, she's CPP chairperson. She's very active in that sense, and she means well to Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. But as if I think as a personal decision, she has taken not to. She has done a hands-off policy. Now this hands-off policy is actually proving very costly, not only for the Congress but for Rahul Gandhi also.
Fair enough. Need a quick word on, I think that is true. If that cup of tea that you talked about, Rahul doesn't have to. Sonia will, and Sonia and Mani, there is a whole, goodwill of the whole Rajiv era also that they share in that sense.
No, that's true. Sonia Gandhi is a very good troubleshooter, used to be.
Yeah.
And she's a very good listener. And she would consult in her earlier years, one could say that she believed in the consultative processes in the Congress.
Very much.
So many people would sit together and evolve what is the line to take in Parliament, for instance. Also, other things. Later, that degenerated into leaving everything to her, authorize her to take the decisions. Yes, even today, I feel, yeah, she's probably the tallest leader in the Congress today, even today, even as a retired person. So I agree, she could have a role at appropriate junctures, when trouble is brewing, something is happening, quiet intervention, help in the party.
Yeah, maybe not so much as the UPA chairperson, but the Congress chairperson, perhaps that would be a good role for her. But on that note, thank you so much, both of you, for helping us, try and take a look at the inside doings of the Congress party, where it's headed and what is happening, because it is at least, I think, finally stepping up to the role of a credible opposition, which I must say is something Rahul Gandhi has been able to achieve. But on that note, thank you so much for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.